to the battles at home. We carry the weight, but we're never alone. You fought for the flag, now fight to be heard. Your truth is a flame, we're lighting the world. Step on the spear of veterans, Roundtable, where the brave take a stand. A round table forged by a brotherhood's hand. From the front lines to freedom we speak without fear. This is our moment. Step on the spear of veterans, Roundtable. Roundtable. Talk through the pain, the laughs and the scars. From VA lines to chasing the stars. Every voice matters, every wound's real. Every shared truth helps each of us heal. We're not just a podcast, we're a mission, a tribe. A place for the warriors, still learning to thrive. Tip of the spear, where the strong come to speak. Where the silent are seen, and the hurting find peace. From the battle-worn past to the future we steer, we rise up as one. Tip of the spear, of veterans, Roundtable. Roundtable. And the scars, from VA lines to chasing the stars. Every voice matters, every wound's real. Every shared truth helps each of us heal. We're not just a podcast, we're a mission, a tribe. A place for the warriors, still learning to thrive. Tip of the spear, where the strong come to speak. Where the silent to see, and the hurting find peace. From the battle-worn past to the future we steer, we rise up as one. Tip of the spear, of veterans, Roundtable. So here's to the ones who still carry the fight. In the dark of the day or the silence of night. We pull up a chair, you're welcome right here. Your story is power, your voice crystal clear. Tip of the spear, where the mission lives on. In the stories we tell and the bonds that are strong. For every lost soul and every brave peer, we echo their names. Tip of the spear, of veterans, Roundtable. This is your veterans Roundtable. Your voice, your fight. Welcome to Tip of the Spear.
Welcome everybody to Tip of the Spear November edition. How is everybody doing? Matt, how are you, sir?
I'm doing marvelous. How about yourself?
Man, I'm not doing too bad. I'm not doing too bad. We got a new member joining tonight. We will have other people joining. Some people are running behind at the present moment in time, but they will be here eventually. That's the good thing about Tip of the Spear. I do want to welcome Kevin from the One Moment podcast. Welcome to the Tip of the Spear. How are you doing, sir? He's muted. Can you hear me? He might have to leave and come back in. So that's with the phone. With the phone, yeah.
Well, Spitfire and lead.
Yeah, he'll probably have to leave and come back in because he's
Put
muted.
it in a private chat.
Can you hear us, Kevin? Can you hear us?
All right. I think I got it figured out.
All right. Can you hear us now?
Yep. I had to turn my phone around. 100%.
Well, welcome back. Do me a favor and introduce yourself to the people that don't know who you are.
Doing?
We are doing wonderful. How are you? Might be lagging a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's got a couple minute delay. Or a couple second.
Maybe. He's definitely lagging.
Let's try it like this too.
Hey, Kevin, what if you dropped out, redid it, and came back?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. So how can y'all hear me now? Is there still a delay?
No delay now. Unless there's a delay in him hearing us.
Is there a delay?
There's no delay unless you can't hear us.
You said yeah?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Un poquito.
You might have to leave and come back in, Kevin.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So a lot has happened since the last tip of the spear. Of course, on the last tip of the spear, we touched on some hot topics. We touched on um, stolen valor compared to borrowed valor. Welcome back. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. No lag this time. I like it. I like it. So so do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the world of tip of the spear. People that don't know you, Mr. Kevin.
All right, so my name is Kevin Odom. I am a currently I am a licensed mental health and substance use therapist. I am also a certified clinical supervisor in the state of North Carolina. I work at a local hospital in Winston-Salem. I do a lot of different services. I offer a lot of different services. I specialize in substance use therapy, and clinically, I do a lot of group therapy, do a lot of one-on-ones and group therapy. That's kind of where I'm throwing my head at this moment. Did 3.5 years in the Army. Enjoyed my time there. Enjoyed a lot of stuff that I was doing while I was in the Army. um, uh, and so I did from '09 to 12, I think it was 2012. Um, and ever since I've done that. I think it was in 20 2013. I had a life changing experience, or yeah, it was in 2013. And ever since I've been on this spiritual journey in life. And so uh, at this moment, I've been going to school since about 2013. So I'm a long time educational student. But that's a little
Sounds
about
like
me. I run the One Moment podcast. We're on um, TikTok, Instagram, Pandora, Deezer, Amazon, Audible, Facebook, X, Blue Sky Threads. We're across the board on every social media platform you can think of.
nice, nice. Now, how long have you been doing your podcast?
January will be a year.
Nice, nice, nice. And you do that? Do you do that weekly or bi-weekly? How many
Typically,
episodes?
so we do two episodes a week. Sometimes we do them live. Sometimes we don't do them live. We still professionally or somewhat professionally edit the recordings and then also publish them whenever we do the edits.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome to the Tip of the Spear. So what we talk about on Tip of the Spear is anything. Anything kind of goes, like my respective podcast, the Homefront Sitrep, we don't talk politics, we don't talk religion. We do focus on the veteran service organizations from around the country, the mom and pops that still care about us as veterans and don't see us as numbers. And then we bring in veteran authors, veteran business owners, veteran singers, like Craig Murphy there. He runs a nonprofit, or he heads up the nonprofit in Washington State. And then Mr. William Stevens there is an author, Army veteran as well. So we've had both of those guys on the show to talk about what they do. But so we talk about a little bit of everything on ranging from mental health to um, you know whatever, anything that's veteran related, we talk about on Homefront Sit Rep. And Tip of the Spear is a little bit different because this is where we open it up. We talk about anything that's going on globally, military wise. And then we also talk about things that go on within the veteran communities in our own area. Um, so, um, with that being said, something that I want to talk about because I was in this country for a while, and my co-host was there twice, once with me, and then he went back in '04. There's a story on military.com, It says Marines under fire defending the U.S. Embassy in gang ravaged Haiti. Now, if you know anything about Haiti or have been to Haiti, that place has been destroyed since mid 90s. I think I was there in 99, 99 the first time. Well, the only time I went, and Gunny went back in 2004. And it was unfortunately, it's a third world country. And it was terrible then. There was gangs everywhere. There was crime everywhere. And we had to be very, very careful what we did and how we our our rules of engagement, ROEs. I had to think about there for a minute. I'm country. Our ROEs said that we couldn't fire back unless we got hit or our post got hit. Uh, oh, all right. Craig says no longer part of the group. We need to talk, Craig, and see why. So this came out. This was published November 19th. So today at 10:38 a.m. On November 13, 2025, the sound of gunfire echoed through the streets of Port-au-Prince, which is the capital city. As U.S. Marines guarding the American embassy faced an unexpected assault from suspected gang members. Uh, the exchange of fire, the incident unfolded when a group of armed individuals believed to be affiliated with the Viva Ansam Gang Alliance opened fire on Marines supporting embassy security operations. According to the official statements from the Marine Corps, the troops returned fire, neutralizing the immediate threat without sustaining any injuries. Um, let's see. So, me personally, I know what our ROEs were. We couldn't fire back unless we were fired upon, like they hit our tower or they actually uh, hit our person. So I don't know what the ROEs are now. Uh, but me personally, if I want to know who is going after these Marines for firing back. I need to read more into the story. What do you
Wait,
think?
so you're saying that the Marines that were defending themselves are falling under some kind of consequence for that?
That's what I'm gathering from the let's see. I'm going to read more, but that's what I'm gathering
I'm
from the story headline.
I'm looking it up
Uh
right now. I'm gonna start doing some research and looking into it.
yeah, let's see. I'm going to go it don't really go into a whole lot of detail. It goes implications for the future. The embassy incident raises questions about sustained U.S. commitment in Haiti without a full scale intervention. State Department officials have recognized that instability in Haiti can directly lead to safety issues for the United States. As one spokesperson noted in the briefing, the United States remains committed to supporting the Haitian people in their efforts to restore security. Yet, with gangs issuing public calls for mobilization, the pressure on Marines and diplomats intensifies. Uh,
Here's actually a 3.5 minute video.
well, we might be able to share it, maybe. Yeah,
And
I don't know.
it was 3 days ago.
Yeah, on the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I need to do more. Need to look more into that.
Police in Haiti clashed with gangs Thursday night into Friday in an operation that killed 7 gang members and led police. U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince exchanged gunfire with suspected gang members, reports the Washington Post, according to Marine Corps. That's just the videos. So suspected gang members exchange fire with. This is Marine Corps Times.
Okay.
A group of suspected Haitian gang members fired this week on American forces protecting the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince. A spokesman said Saturday an incident that highlighted the tense security situation in the Caribbean nation. Captain Stephen J. Keenan, a spokesman for the U.S. Marines, wrote an email that the shooting, which came to light this weekend, happened Thursday, adding that the Marines returned fire. No Marines were hurt in the attack. Haitian police were not immediately available to comment on the exchange on fire. Gangs control 90% of Haitian's capital, where they extort businesses and fight for territory using heavy weaponry. The United States continues to operate an embassy in Haiti, but in recent years, the State Department has issued numerous warnings telling Americans not to travel there due to the risk of kidnappings, crimes, terrorist activity, and civil unrest. According to the United Nations, gang violence has displaced more than 1.3 million Haitians from
Yeah.
their homes in recent years. Security in the nation of nearly 12 million people has deteriorated rapidly since 2021 when President, I can't say that dude's name, was assassinated in his home by mercenaries. It really just goes on to talk more about them. Gang suppressed forces of about 5,500 troops that will be deployed to Haiti to fight the nation's heavily armed criminal groups. So I don't know why they're getting, because the UN is getting involved.
Yeah.
Human Rights Office. So they're
I mean, the Marines
for
were doing their job. So if it, I wonder who is, because it don't really say who's coming after them. And Travis, you might have heard this story, but the headline on military.com says Marines under fire defending the U.S. Embassy in gang ravaged Haiti. Now, I wonder if it's Marines under fire because they were being fired upon, or is somebody actually going after them because they fired back? I don't know. Have you heard that story, Travis?
No, no, I haven't.
it
But
appears that
and
you're on top of something
I'll
that
be
we're
right back.
not. So so we're learning some new stuff here. So the question is did they fire upon the embassy, right? Because
Well,
that's their job, is to defend the embassy, is it not?
yeah, it says they did. It says that it says the exchange of fire, the incident unfolded when a group of armed individuals believed. There's Gene. It says when a group of armed individuals believed to be affiliated with the Viv and Sam ANSANM gang alliance opened fire on Marines. So they fired at the Marines. Um, so it looks like they got fired upon first. Welcome, Gene. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So right now, Gene, we're talking about the story. So this was wrote today on military.com. It says Marines under fire defending the U.S. Embassy in gang ravaged Haiti. Um, so it looks like some armed men decided they were going to f around and find out and shoot at some Marines down in Haiti. Um, so
Not too
we're
smart.
trying to figure out if the Marine, because the headline is very rage baity, I guess, because it says Marines under fire.
Yep.
So are they under fire because they fired back, or are they talking about because they were fired upon? Because and the story doesn't really go into a whole lot of detail on like repercussions, but like Matt says, the UN is now getting involved as well. Because of course we all know that Haiti, since the mid to late 80s, even probably before, um, Haiti has always been, an unstable third world country. I was there in '99, and let me tell you some of the stuff that I saw there in '99 as a fresh 18-year-old out of the U.S. for the first time. Um, I should never see. You know, it's something I should have never seen, and the guys that were with me should have never seen the stuff that we saw. And then Gunny went back in '04, and it was worse than '04 when he went back the second time. So,
Wow.
I wonder if this happens quite frequently, and then just somehow the Washington Post got a hold of this story and had nothing else to talk about, so they're sensationalizing it. Because if the area is controlled by 90%, the gangs control 90% of the area. This probably happens quite frequently.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, when we were there in '99, they would shoot over top of our towers. Like we were told, the only way we could shoot back is if they hit our post or they hit us. But they could fire over our post. They could shoot at the ground in front of our post. We couldn't do anything. There was a lot. There was a lot of times where they were just shooting over our heads.
I also wonder at the end of this on Task and Purpose, the end of the article says, at the end of August this year, a new contingent of Marines arrived in Port-au-Prince to rotate in for embassy security. So I wonder if that has something to do with it, because it's a new group of Marines, right? So maybe some of them had experience there and they just keep rotating in and out.
Well, that we did. I know when we were there, we relieved an Army unit when we were there. And then when we got relieved after 3 or 4 months, it was the 82nd Airborne that came in and relieved us. So they do rotate. They do rotate.
So these weren't boots to the area,
Right.
right?
And Sergeant Peter Parker on TikTok says it's a proper piece, misleading headline for nothing. I would agree with you, Sergeant Peter Parker. It is definitely a misleading headline, I think.
It seems like most of all current day media, especially when reported online, I mean that is just unfortunately the state of what most reporting is turned to these days.
I would agree.
Now, the headline for Task and Purpose, right? Marines got into a shootout with suspected gang members in Haiti. Very next line, still not the article, says the gunfight started on November 13th after suspected gang members opened fire on Marines guarding the embassy. So,
yeah, see, I think military.com, I think the way they wrote it on military, so Task and Purpose probably said it just right. Military.com definitely did a misleading headline for sure. I would probably say for sure.
I'm sorry, I'm just going through like 7 or 8 of them, right?
No, you're good. You're good. I think it's clickbait basically because it says Marines under fire. It's like, huh? What did the Marines do this time? You know, because us Marines, we have a lot of bad reputations anyway. People always think we're out to cut somebody's head off or whatnot.
Here you go. Here's Haitian Times. The shooting underscores how the U.S. Embassy has increasingly come under threat as armed groups threatened their grip on Port-au-Prince, with previous attacks leaving vehicles riddled with bullets and an employee wounded.
Okay.
So it appears that anybody that goes to this area probably they're briefed on the fact that it's going to be a pretty dangerous area. And then if you get these guys into a high tense situation, they're already under the idea that they're probably going to come under fire. Remember, Lance Corporals, 19, 20, 21 years old, not able to really comprehend some of the things that they're going to go through. And it's the stress starts to build. I don't know. I mean, we can make all kinds of assumptions,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
have to remember that they don't give us all of the full story on purpose.
yeah. Oh yeah, they definitely don't give us the full story for sure.
For real.
And then Peter Parker on TikTok says Congress is investigating the Clintons and Haiti. I think the Clintons are getting investigated for everything.
They should be.
I mean, I would probably agree. Oh, okay, all right. Let's move on. Let's different topic now.
Okay.
All right. So Epstein files. Let's talk about that real quick because
All right.
that's something hot topic right now, right? I forget who posted something, but they're like, oh, well, they're going to release the Epstein files, but now people are going to say, well, there's names scrubbed off the list, which we already knew that was going to happen. I mean, shit gets redacted, especially if you were in the military. Shit gets redacted, but who knows who knows what names were originally on the list and what names weren't on the list.
Right. And what's the point in putting out a document that is going to be redacted? Like, why are we going through and wasting taxpayers' dollars to say, I'm going to release this file, but everything's going to be redacted?
Gene, you want to take that? You're shaking your head.
I'll tell you why, because I've said this before. I'm going to keep saying it again. If people out there in the world, if we as the people, if we keep thinking this is a left and right issue, we're not looking far enough.
I agree.
Right? It's a us, and then there's them. That's the issue that has taken place. And so whatever they release, it's going to be hogwash. It's going to be whatever. And to me, it's follow the shiny ball. Meanwhile, we're over here and we're going to do what we need to keep doing. And not for nothing, this isn't saying something in support of or against, but there has never been an administration that is as good as this one at sending the media down rabbit holes. They purposely know how to do it. He will say just what he needs to say, knowing good and well it has nothing to do with what they're actually working on. And so the way they've been working with this, I don't know, dude. There's the Epstein this, Epstein that. I think the truth, whatever it was, I think we were all supposed to hear accountability and see some perp walks. Haven't seen any of that mess yet. So I don't know, but
Well, I've said it before, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, Trump's going to clean this, drain the swamp, drain the swamp, drain the swamp." Listen, when I ran for Missouri State Representative, I had the same, not going to go in and drain the swamp. It was, I'm going to go in and do great things. After I learned that your first year there, it's about becoming part of the swamp or you can't get anything done.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And that's in a state level. Imagine in a federal level, becoming part of the swamp is part of the game.
Back when the Federalists were a party, like 1790s, right? The major opposing party was called the Democratic Republicans.
Yep.
And after the Federalists basically fell out of favor because it felt a little too British, a little too monarchy, their ideas of big government and authoritarianism, that's when you see the two parties start to break and start to merge out. But I say this, long time ago, it's one and the same, man. The groups they're together out there. And
it's two wings of the same bird and they're both shitting on us.
Yeah, I love that. and sooner or later, I always hear that when people say, well, this representative, this is what I believe in. I don't really care what you believe in. You were elected to represent your constituents and the people that elected you. That means even the people that you disagree with, you're there to represent them also. So, you can't just dismiss 50% of the group, dog. You got to listen. These people are also part of your constituents, So at some point, we the people, right?
Well,
sooner or later.
I've said this too, right? I believe that the representatives red or blue, they're out to screw you. There you go. I like that rhyme. Um, so I believe that they have their own agenda, but whenever that's the politics, but whenever it gets to the people themselves, left, right, center, whatever, I
Yeah.
believe that everybody has the right idea, right? They want better for our country. We disagree on how we're getting there. And then when you get to your representatives and your senators, they are pandering to their voting base.
Yeah.
And everything that they do is a chess move so that that voting base stays for them.
Yeah.
And Nasty Pelosi, basic one, right? Nasty Pelosi, one of the worst on the planet. But I think that her voting base absolutely wants her to act the way she is.
You know,
And
Ben Franklin once said the first job of a statesman when they take office, work on getting reelected.
that's it. They
Yeah.
75% of your time that you're in office, you're working on reelection.
Yeah, you're not really doing anything, and you got all these young politicians, right? They're idealist, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna change the world, I'm gonna change everything." And then they get in there, and like you said, they either conform or they get eaten up and spit out. It's just like, what the hell? And I think what it's going to take, and I've seen this with several of the veteran community guys that have gone into politics. And a lot of them are standing on their own feet, and not backing down and trying not to be, but yet they're still a minority when it comes to that, because here you got a handful of veterans out there that are trying, political realm, and they're trying to make a difference, but you have too many people that's been in office for 30 plus years, and haven't done one thing in 30 years but line their pocket.
So, Willis, here's something that I learned when I was talking to people to try and get endorsements, right? Not sponsorship, not money, but these organizations that say we agree with your stance. And they stamp you, bang, I support this person, I endorse them. I was sitting at a lunch one day talking to this lady, and she asked me a question. She said, I can address that one too. So she said, she goes, what do you think is the first thing you need to learn? And I was like, I mean, let's be honest. I need to learn how to read and write bills. If I don't know how to do those things, what is my purpose there? She goes, you don't need to learn how to read and write bills. I was like, why not? She
Got
said, what
interns
you
do it for
do,
you.
no, lawyers. So you decide what you want it to say, and then it goes down to the belly of the beast. All the lawyers will put all the legalese in and I go, so what is my purpose? So your purpose is to go around to all representatives and all senators, press flesh, and try and convince them to sign and agree to your bill. And I was like, wait a second. So from the get-go, my whole plan is to become corrupt. And she goes, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, I'm glad I lost. After I learned that, I was like, I'm glad I lost. Because that means that me, one person out of 245 in the House and the Senate, I would have had no chance of changing anything without becoming corrupt.
Jesus.
So our system is absolutely screwed. I wanted to say the F word so bad. Absolutely screwed. And now whenever it comes to term limits, who actually determines those laws for term limits? It's our House and Senate. So our House and Senate is going to write the laws to determine that they can no longer line their pockets with the money that they're taking from us or the insider trading. They will never write a law to go against themselves. They have to. It's legislators legislating against themselves, and it's never going to happen.
Yeah, it comes up every few years, right? You know, bring it up as a buzzword around election time, whatever. Talk
Yeah,
about it, rally the base, rattle the sabers a little bit, get the villagers all excited about it, and then let it fade away again back into the into obscurity.
Now, Gene, there is something that's happening. I don't know if y'all have paid attention to it or if y'all have heard of it. It's called Convention of States, which in our Constitution we have the ratification process to get an amendment to our Constitution or our Bill of Rights. Right after the line where it says this is the ratification process, you can also do a Convention of States, which is the ratification process backwards. So you go to all of the states and you have to get 38 of the 50 states to sign on and say, I agree with what you're trying to do. Then you send representatives from them to the House and Senate to say, all of the states are saying this has to happen. So you can force the federal courts to change laws. So conventionofstates.com is something that is happening right now. There's a convention of states happening. It's been going on for 12 years. They
Wow.
go to our state, my state, Missouri. It has already passed House and Senate for convention of states to happen. It's in some states in legislation. It's passed the House, not the Senate. It hasn't passed House or Senate. But they're working to get these states to agree to it. But my fear is the people that are pushing this. As much as I don't trust politicians, I don't trust people that are politicking to change politicians. Right? Like, what is their purpose? What are they
Yeah.
telling us they want to do, and then what are they actually going to do?
right.
I'll tell you right now, anything that Colorado right now pushes out, I'm not going to trust a single bit of it. And that's my state, man. That's where I live.
Fact.
But no, I don't trust anything we do right now.
I don't trust any politician. I don't care. They could be my best friend, and they could join the political party. I won't trust them. And the reason I say that is because I've seen too many politicians to your face says, "Oh, I support you," but then as soon as you turn your back, they're saying no to that bill or no to this bill or yes to this bill and stabbing you in your back. So me personally, I don't trust any politician out there. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, um, because they're all corrupt. I think every one of them are corrupt.
They have to
Uh,
be.
Yeah,
And,
Travis.
and I was told that, and I'm like, fuck. Oh shit, I did it. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, well, it's interesting that y'all were saying that because it was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, something happened up in DC, and it really was disappointing. And, as a therapist, I'm like, our job is supposed to protect the young, the innocent, and all, and so there were some decisions that were made in DC, and I've been listening to everybody, and the last couple of things that like, the last couple of folks have said is they don't trust politicians, regardless of party line here, and that literally those some of those decisions were just distasteful to me. It was disgusting and distasteful, and just made me just absolutely exactly what this young man just said. I just don't. There's not a politician in D.C. or in the state of North Carolina that I even trust anymore. Like when we deny the opportunity to protect our innocent, our young and innocent, that bothers me. It bothers me to the core. And yeah, I mean that's kind of where my thought process is. And so, but anyways, I'm gonna be quiet. I've been listening. So, thank y'all for letting me chime in.
No, you're good, man. That's what this is about, to have that healthy discussion. And that's what we like to have on here, the healthy discussion to talk about all of these issues that are going on across across the globe, because stupid stuff happens all over the place. So, Travis, how are you?
Doing all right, man. I'm hoping to see you next month.
Oh, you're definitely seeing me. It's already on the calendar. And
That's good.
I'll bring theory with me, and you can
Friday. So I lift Friday
Doing
at
what
4
now?
p.m.
In December, Travis is coming to Louisville.
Oh,
So
dope.
we're gonna go meet him in person up there at the event that he's at.
Hell yeah, I'm down.
So
What
What
were
do you-
we talking about? I'm sorry I came in a little late, guys. I was handling some household chores.
no, you're good. So first thing we were talking about was the Marines in Haiti that recently on the 13th was attacked at the embassy. They, of course, the Marines fired back and squashed it. But the headline was very misleading. Like it said, Marines under fire. Let me bring it back up here. It says Marines under fire defending the U.S. embassy in gang ravaged Haiti, and it didn't really elaborate a whole lot. Like if they were getting like pushback from U.S. government for firing back, or literally because they were under fire. You know, somebody was shooting at them, and then we got into politics just here recently, talking about you, you know, term limits and all that good jazz. So
Epstein.
and we talked about Epstein too, because I seen your post earlier. Well, you were one of many that posted about the Epstein files, about names being scrubbed off of it and stuff like that. And I was like,
yeah, I commented that on Brian Roof's status because it's like as soon as I open my TikTok, like the very first thing that pops up is usually Mike Johnson's face, and it's like, you know, talking about, oh, well, I think that, you know, are we gonna redact some of these, you know, names to protect the victims of, you know, the Epstein files?
The clause was put in it so that they could.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it should be kind of, I don't know, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think it goes without saying that the victims' identities should be protected.
oh yeah, victims for sure.
No, not the. We're not talking about the victims. Talking about the perpetrators. It was put in specifically so the perpetrators' names can be redacted.
No, no, that is not. I guess I misinterpreted that.
I mean, it's just like the JFK files, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that they put out a bunch of information that isn't redacted. Okay. JFK, they put out, what was it? The assassination, they put something like 10,000 pages out. And I read some of it, and it had nothing to do with JFK. It had to do with something going on in an embassy in Germany.
Yeah.
And they're saying that it all ties together. Well, now it's going to take somebody 5 years to sift through all of it, put this paper here, pull a string across, right? We're going to have to do the same thing with these Epstein files. What they're going to do is they're just going to pump everything out there. The information is going to be so much. Some's going to be redacted. Some isn't. It's going to be so ambiguous that we're not going to be able to say, this is what happened.
Yeah. And I'm kind of, you know, maybe like a conspiracy theory that you could consider this, but I have a very strong feeling that it's going to take, like you said, a lot of years to look at that stuff. And it's going to be by the time Trump's out of office, and, you know, then something else is going to pop up where it's like, oh, well, we found out some of these names that have been redacted, and, you know, it's from this party or that party. And, you know, it's going to implicate, you know, so-and-so, and it's going to, right around election time, I'm calling it right now. And
it's political bait, man.
Yeah, it's all it is. And that's why I said what I said on Brian's post. You know, it's like, I like, as cold as it might be to hear me say, like, I really just don't give a shit anymore. Like, I'm so numb to this whole thing. Like, everybody's been screaming about the Epstein files for fucking years and years and years. And it's like, at this point, what is going to change? Like, I don't like, it's destroyed so much of the American people's trust in the people that are leading us, and the people that are basically running the lives of, you know, 350 million Americans. And, you know, if you can't trust those people, like, no matter what party you're in, people don't trust a politician. It's just kind of, you know, a common phrase. You never trust a politician. And you know, I kind of think it's a waste of time, and it's all for political gain and, you know, division of the people. And if you don't want the Epstein files released, you're a fucking commie. Like, dude, shut up. Like, you know, everybody wants them released, but realistically, what is that going to do? Nobody, like, if you think about it, like the most powerful people in the world are not going to face jail time. If that was the case, and Hillary would be in jail right now.
Speaking about
Yeah,
trusting,
and that's what bothers me is man, I don't care who it is, world leaders, politicians, I don't care who it is, release the files. Like, release them. Because at this point in time, like you just said, the most powerful are not going to be incarcerated. Yeah, I mean, whatever the outcome is, whoever it is, release them. They don't; those people do not need to be protected.
Yeah.
Our job is, as you were just saying, right, and as I said earlier, is the young and the innocent are the victims of. And I'm right there, and that's what makes me mad. That's what, you know, makes my blood boil.
Yeah,
And
and
until
like
they're
what
released,
Craig Murphy's saying right there, like he just left a comment. I read your comment, Craig. It says, "What if it was your daughter, niece, or female relative?" Like, obviously, you know, regardless of whether I'm related to these victims or not, because I mean, clearly I'm not, but you know, whether I was or not, I want justice, right? Like, everybody wants justice. We want the perpetrators to be brought to justice. We want people to go to jail and receive the repercussions of these actions. Like, we want that. If you're sick, if you don't, but like, I don't know. I think it's all this constant roundabout, you know, where it's got to be made so complicated, and you got to go through all these channels, and because they're politicians and they have money and power, and, you know, there's all these complications, and it's like, it doesn't necessarily affect 90% of the American people's lives. It's just force fed to us through media so much that it's like, we have to care about it. Otherwise, you're a, you know,
Yes.
pedo,
Yeah.
and you're this, you're that. Like, dude, I want him to come out, dude, but like, I just live here. Like, you know, I'm just trying to live my life and do what I got to do. Diddy knows the names.
Willis, I got a question here, maybe for you and for the round table here. Speaking on the politician tip, something that's been going on, and I have my personal opinions, which is pretty strong about it, but the flag's been at half staff for former Vice President Dick Cheney's death. His funeral's tomorrow. I, as a civilian and as a citizen of the United States that lived through the reign of Dr. Evil, could not believe the amount of attempts at going way beyond what I feel was someone's pay grade. And I don't mean to speak ill of those who have passed. I'm sorry for he and his family. But I also believe that we make our own bed, and we lie in our own bed. And the Halliburton piece that took place from 2000 to 2004 range, dude, I remember that. Then the 2004 to 2008, I'm sorry, but he was one of the scariest. He, Scooter Libby, and Karl Rove were some of the three scariest human beings. They had no aspiration to move past that job, right? And I still believe they were pulling the strings that a lot of you gentlemen sitting here paid the price for, you know, over money and contracts and such, that, you know, maneuvers that, quite frankly, we shouldn't have been doing. You're out of service now. Are you allowed to speak your piece on your opinions of these guys, or what? You know, what's that like for you when you see something like that?
So we can speak our piece on any politician that's out there now, because we're not. I mean, yes, we still have that oath until the day we die, right?
Sure.
But like, I wouldn't speak ill of the current president, current vice president. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, and I tell my daughters the same thing. Look, they're right now, they are the commander in chiefs. You know, president, vice president, they're in charge. They're running the country right now. So don't speak ill of those guys. But former presidents, former vice presidents, former whatever, yeah, we can definitely talk about them. I, man, I never really paid attention to politics back then. With like when Dick Cheney was in office and um, George W. and all of those guys were in office. I didn't really pay attention to politics back then. When I was in the Marine Corps, it was balls to the wall, Marine Corps, do what I'm told. I didn't really pay attention, right? When I got out in 2001 and then 9/11 happened and I got recalled back in, I still didn't really pay attention to what was going on. I did for the simple fact that, our country was attacked. I was like, all right, we're going to war. Let's go. Because that's, when you sign up and join the Marine Corps and become a Marine, because you can join all the branches, but you become a Marine. That's one of the things that you always hope in the back of your mind. Yes, let's go kill some, let's go throw some lead down range and take care of what we need to take care of, right? So that's all I focused on. Like my training was my training. I wanted to be the best at what I did. But going, Marie joined. Welcome. Welcome, Marie.
Hey guys, I know you're getting ready to close up. I just wanted to stop in and pop up and say hi.
We got about. We got whatever, because this is tip of the spear. Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. This is tip of the spear. We ain't got no time limit on tip of the spear. We can go about an hour and a half, probably, maybe, until the wife starts.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It's good to see you guys.
Yelling at me. So yeah, we can talk about any of the former presidents, former whatever. Travis, what would you say about Dick Cheney and all of those guys back then?
So, I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I served during the Clinton years, which was embarrassing to say the least. And I remember the same thing that, our platoon, our battery gunny told us one day, because some of the guys were talking about, hey, here we're out there in the desert, baking to death, literally. And there he is in the White House doing what he's doing, and his, spouse isn't much better. And he's like, at all times, you're salute the rank, but not the person. You salute the rank. So, and we're supposed to, as active duty military, stay apolitical. We are the extension of the will of the United States people, and to execute that will against our enemies, foreign and domestic, right? But, as a veteran, I think this is where we as veterans need to figure out what we want to do and start uniting under a common banner. So regardless of who's in office, our lives, our blood is spent wisely instead of just for political gain or for saber rattling or because somebody else who's never served before or who has served is trying to make a point, right? So I think we are the conscience of the military as veterans to ensure that those who are serving now have the support they need while they're in, get the benefits they need and the support they need when they're out. And if we don't like somebody, we band together and tell somebody, hey, if you vote against, this bill that's going to do this, we will vote you out. And the thing is, I think a lot of politicians understand this. Yes, we're a small part of the overall voting population, but they know that a lot of us are disjointed, disbanded, uninterested, don't really care about, casting a vote or being involved in the political process. And if they can keep that going, they know that they don't have anything to fear from us. They can do whatever they want. The VFW might, testify in Congress, but by and large, we want to take your benefits away. We're going to. No problem. And I think what's starting to happen with things like this tip of the spear and other things that we all do in our own lane is we're starting to come together. And I think when we start coming together and being unified, and if we can keep that up, we should be able to impose our will on those who are in office because they have forgotten that they work for us. They've also forgotten that if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. So I think it is incumbent on us veterans to come together on certain things and draw a line in the sand and let them know, no, this is not acceptable. You didn't take care of those guys. I mean, the burn pits is a perfect example of that. Whose bright idea was it to send those guys to make all that stuff and get all those? It's a tragic, and it didn't need to happen. So that's my 2 cents. And things like this give me hope that we are starting to come together and lean into the power each one of us has. And gentlemen and ladies, we are stronger together. So let's kick these guys' ass. That's my 2 cents.
I would agree with you 100%. I think we need to band together as veterans. I know there's organizations out there like MOA has their groups in each state where they go and she's not there. She is. I know MOA has where they go, storm the hill, which they don't call it that anymore, but they go up and lobby for veterans. Now, here's what I'm going to say about that, though. All right, so you got all these different organizations out there that are lobbying for veterans' rights, veteran benefits, and stuff like that. All of them are doing something very similar, but they all have different agendas. And that's what's wrong with the world. That's how they keep us divided. And it's just like, white people versus black people, white people versus Mexicans, and they keep us divided because they know if we as a country are divided, like if there's the whites are against the blacks or the whites against the Mexicans or vice versa, we're weaker that way. So we as veterans, whether we're Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Space Force, Marines, whatever, we all need to come together under one common guise and say, all right, this is what we want. As veterans, we want the benefits that we deserve, that we earned, not deserve because we earned them. Let me rephrase that, because we earned the benefits that we got. And I'm not talking about going out to Texas Roadhouse on Veterans Day and getting free food. I'm just talking about the what we earned serving our country. We said we would take care of our country should take care of us. I think every veteran out there should be rated somewhere along that scale, whether it's 50%, 100%, depending on the severity of your service injuries. If you were, PTSD, if you got PTSD, you should be 100%. If you, whatever. So I think, yes, I agree. I think we need to come together as a community, and that's where conversations like this that we're having on Tip of the Spear, where it comes into play, and it might spark that fire to get all of us together. What do you think, Theory?
I agree 100%. I think that it's important because you hear too often, that there are veterans, like with this whole government shutdown and wanting to, this whole narrative was that the Democratic shutdown, right? What they called it, the Democratic government shutdown, and regardless of whatever was the purpose behind it, have a good one, man. Regardless of who was responsible for the shutdown or not, you heard countless amount of times, oh, well, why are we wanting to give healthcare and all this to, illegal immigrants, but we have homeless veterans and, veterans that are, not getting the medical care that they need and, not getting the mental health care that they need and things like that. And you hear that so often. And, it's sad because, like you said, you serve your country and you do your part regardless of whatever it is. For example, I saw a TikTok today, just kind of doom scrolling earlier this morning, and it was a guy who was saying like, it was like a funny skit, but he was like, nobody's going to quit a job faster than a disabled military or a disabled veteran, because they're not there to work for their like living. They're there to work for leisure. They got their stuff paid for, and it's like I saw so many comments in there that were like, the recruiting office was open to everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, when you have people who are saying, oh, well, you know, veterans are getting their disability and it's a handout. You know, you guys are expecting handouts. You guys are just expecting free money. And it's like, that's not at all what veterans are expecting. We're not expecting free money, and that money is not free. You know, when's the last time that, you know, you heard of a veteran with severe PTSD being able to sleep through a night? You know, when's the last time? I mean, I haven't slept through a night, and I have my left shoulder, per my July appointment when I went in for my yearly appointment. I was talking about my shoulder. I had an X-ray done, and my shoulder, I had surgery on this left shoulder back in 2012 when I was active duty, and I'm rated at 40% for my shoulder, but it's like hanging on by a thread right now. Like it dislocates and just falls out of place for no reason whatsoever. So like, you know, it's painful, and you deal with that every day. So it's like when but then you see a bunch of comments from veterans who are sticking together and who are like constantly having each other's backs, saying like, no, the recruiting office was open to everybody. You could have walked in that recruiting office and you could have signed the dotted line, and you could have, no matter what, whether it was a combat deployment or you were on a MEU or you were on whatever it was, you know, you could have been in Guam, you could have been in Oki, you could have been in Iwakuni, wherever you were in the world, your service mattered. And, you know, I think that anybody who has the courage to sacrifice years of their life away from their family and their loved ones, just to be able to serve and protect our country, deserve to be taken care of when they come back out of that active duty status. And Travis made a good point where, you know, for veterans, it's important for our community, for those of us who have already served, to be able to take the steps necessary to take care of the active duty veteran or the active duty military for while they're in, and have the proper training and the proper care and attention for when they get out and transition out back into civilian life, because that's also something that's lacking. You know, they don't really prepare us as well as they probably should. You know, my TRS was 5 days. and
I didn't even have that.
Yeah, like, you know, and it's like basically all 5 days could have been summed up to: don't cuss at your boss, don't cuss at your coworkers, and, you know, and just be a normal person. But it's like, for however many years you served, that was engraved in your brain, and you can't change that. And it's a lot of those habits are hard to break. So, you know, what might be normal to veterans is not normal to Joe Schmo down the street who, you know, just works as some kind of, like, you know, in some kind of telecommunications field or something, you know. So I think it's important for all the veterans to stand together and to back each other up, and to make sure that we're not necessarily getting overrun by these politicians who have, you know, whether a political or a financial agenda that can ultimately cost us some of these benefits and some of these, you know, things that we've earned through our service.
So here's a comment on TikTok. This is from Miss Lacey James with the Peterson 601 Homestead. She says, dealing with the VA and all that as a Army National Guard has been the worst experience ever. There needs to be, I'm sure she's typing more, but yeah, as a reservist and Army National Guard or whatever, Air National Guard, those guys, if they don't do like deployments for a year or 180 consecutive days or something like that, they don't
Outside
get
of
benefits.
training.
Yeah, outside of training, they don't get benefits, which blows my mind, because here they are, they served, you know, they served, signed their name on the dotted line, they served their country, and, you know, whether it was here, whether they were going to southeastern Kentucky to handle ice storms, or whether they were doing crowd control in DC, whatever. Just because they weren't deployed on active duty for 180 plus days, they don't get benefits. I mean, what's the sense in serving in Air National Guard or National Guard or any of that if you're not going to be taken care of? And so
Now, what do they consider a deployment?
So a deployment, you have to be on active duty for, I think, 180 days. So it
Yeah.
could be, but you have to be on active duty. You can't be called up for a month, and do, whatever local and stateside.
But that's what I'm saying. You said like if they don't go on a deployment for 180 consecutive days, they don't get benefits when they get out. What would be considered a deployment then? Are you talking like overseas deployment, or are you talking like get deployed to DC to do crowd control kind of thing?
So
Well,
a
even-
deployment would be anything that activates you and makes you active, and then whenever you're done and you go back, you receive a DD-214. So if you're within the state or another state and you go somewhere, you're not activated as an active duty. You are using you're performing your National Guard duties. And then you don't get a DD-214 when you're done.
So I wanted to jump in on this. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Marie. I am the co-host of Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran. And I just wanted to say, like, we just went through this with my husband because he was a reserve in the Marines for 6 years. And they fought him so hard to get his disability because he never deployed. And he was already struggling with a lot of that mental health, like, oh, I didn't deploy, I don't deserve it, and he felt so isolated. And so then we actually went into the VA to try and get things situated. And somebody told him to his face, you are not an actual veteran. And he almost was killed by a tank. He saw somebody get ran over by a tank. He saw suicide. He dealt with toxic exposure, like a fuel line busted and atomized in his face. Like, he went through more than what I did when I was deployed for a year on active duty. And so we were so disheartened and heartbroken just to have people like that were saying that stuff. But we finally were able to get his disability. But the issue is as a Marine, especially in the reserves, he never went to get health care. And so he pushed it back and pushed it back until he got so bad that, it was like life or death situation, needing to get help, physically and emotionally. And so it's really sad that people like that are getting pushed back so hard, and then there's a lot of people in the veteran community, and it pisses me off so bad when they're like, oh, your service doesn't count. I actually had somebody who I was just on Willis's show a few weeks ago, and I was sharing some of my experience of what I did in Iraq. And it wasn't good stuff because I was stuck in addiction, and I was sharing about that stuff, and I got slut shamed. And somebody was telling me that my service did not matter, because of the way that I was acting. I was like, listen, dude, I did my job. My extracurriculars were not good, but this is why I'm sharing, because I was lost in addiction. And so it's so heartbreaking. And this was another veteran who is retired and who wanted to tell me that my service was not good enough because of what I did. And it breaks my heart that that's happening. You've got the VA that's doing that, and you've got other veterans that are doing that. So sorry, I wanted to jump in just because this is something that's really close to heart right now.
Yeah. No, and that's kind of like what I was meaning too, and I'm sorry that you went through that. That's really unfortunate.
Thank you.
And same thing, for your husband, it's a shame because, like I was in my example earlier with someone saying, well, you didn't deploy. So, why do you rate a disability rating? You didn't deploy. So are you really a veteran? Like, just because I didn't go on a combat deployment and get shot at, does that means that I'm apparently not a veteran? Like, that makes no sense to me. And I think that a lot of people that do say that are like, those are the type of people who would in the same breath say, well, I would have joined, but I would have punched a drill instructor in the face if he yelled at me. Like, shut up, dude. you know, and so unfortunately the internet has given it's given everybody a voice to, you know, be able to speak without any consequence, because you'll see a lot of keyboard warriors in comments that are saying, you know, well, just because you're in the Army, I was in the Marine Corps, and you know, you're not a real veteran because you didn't join the hardest branch. Like, that it doesn't matter to me. You know, what happened to the one team, one fight? What happened to, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, do you think that if I was in a combat situation as a Marine and I'm sitting there and I got shot in my leg, and if some Army guy or some Air Force guy were to see me and come drag me from the fire, like, do you think I'm going to be like, ew, don't touch me? Like, you got on Army camis, like, gross, wait, get that Marine over there to carry me away from getting shot. No, dude, like, it's the same concept when you're here in the, you know, as a veteran. And that's why I'm so big on your service matters. And it doesn't matter what you did. You could have been, you know, never deployed and never left your base, but you provided support for training exercises. You know, I was in the air wing when I was active duty in the Marines. I worked for MALS 29 and, you know, in the avionics division. And I was doing, you know, missile detection radar systems. And then I worked production control for a while. So I was overseeing a lot of the maintenance on a lot of the aircraft equipment. And, you know, we would provide that support for the pilots to be able to fly and do these training exercises. So that way, when they deployed, they were ready to go. And that is just as important as you being deployed and going downrange doing something.
Well,
Because
and
if
I
you're
wanted,
doing your job right, then you put other people's lives at risk, even during training.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to say along those same lines too. You know, someone asked, so for myself, right, I struggle with survivor's guilt. You know, like, hey, this is how I acted, but I still did my job, but I still have my own survivor's guilt. And like, I wonder, you know, oh, could I have done better? Could I have done better? Could I have done more? You know, and then I got medically discharged because my hips gave out, and I was working on Rear D, getting my guys ready to deploy to Afghanistan while I was medically discharging, you know, and I'm like, well, my service doesn't matter as much because, you know, they were able to go and deploy again, you know, and then there's also that idea that I'm not disabled enough to get my disability, or I can't call myself a disabled veteran, you know. Now, you know, my stuff has gotten a lot worse, you know, but back then it was, can I call myself disabled veteran? And, you know, my husband has struggled with that too. Like, I'm, you know, I don't feel like I did enough type thing. And somebody made the comment, how disabled do you need to be? Do you need to lose one arm? Do you need to lose two arms? Do you need to lose an arm and a leg? Do you need to lose your eyesight? You know, how disabled do you need to be? You know, how much in the fire does it count before you say that you were in a house fire? You know, like,
Yeah.
like, okay, just the kitchen sink, but that's still a house fire.
Mhm.
You know, like it's still dangerous. It's still not a good thing. So anyways, that concept of, you know, why do we get to establish when enough is enough? No, the fact of the matter is you sign that line, you put your stuff in there. And if you got injured, you got injured. You know, and if you were in the military, you were in the military. And so when people even say, you know, active versus reserves, no, if you were in those reserves and you got out honorably, you did your job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is letting go of that guilt and letting go of that shame and the comparisons.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Like, so we're talking about, you know, Air National Guard, Army National Guard compared to active duty and doing and completing your mission. You know, we all signed our name on that dotted line, and whether you served your time honorably in the reservists, National Guard, wherever you served your time at, and you served it honorably, you should be taken care of. And I do agree. Like, when it comes to a certain, if you're rated, and even if you're not rated, so let's say you went through the military, you got blown up, right? IED, right? You're not rated because you decided, oh, I'm not going to go to the VA. So you're not rated, but you still got blown up while you were in the service. You should be considered disabled. You know, regardless. So like I got messed up knees, back, ankles. I'm what 60% rated at the VA right now. I'm still fighting to get the rest of it. But I can't get a disabled placard to go on my car because I don't have any physical injuries that were documented in the military service. Like my knees, my ankles, my back, they're jacked. But since they're not documented through my military service, because I didn't go to BAS and didn't report that shit, I can't get a placard for my vehicle because it wasn't documented. So I think there should be. I think there should be something out there where if you have not just physical injuries, but if you have PTSD, MST, if you're a survivor, because with MST you got to throw in PTSD from that. I mean, there's just so many different things out there. Sometimes, what's up, Chris Elder? How are you, sir? With Milda Vets podcast.
Well, because a lot of the injuries, some of them are visible and some of them are not. Many injuries are not visible. And that's, I think, what people fail to realize is like, kind of what I was reading through the comments, and, 1821 Productions, Voice of the Voiceless, had mentioned you can get PTSD from firing a weapon in basic training. For somebody who's never fired a rifle before, it's not Call of Duty. And when you get behind a real rifle and you're aiming down the sights with a real loaded weapon that can, obviously, you never would, but like if you were to aim it at somebody on the firing line, you could easily end somebody's life. And having that kind of control, for somebody who's never fired a weapon before, it can be traumatic. It can be something that's a culture shock, right? And everybody's different. So you never really know how somebody is going to take that. It might really hit home when you hit the rifle range at, on week 5 or 6 in Marine Corps basic training, when you're at Pendleton or wherever on, Paris Island, and you're firing your weapon for the first time. It might really hit home that, oh my God, like I just signed up to basically potentially have to take somebody's life if my country needs me to.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is everybody experiences trauma, but PTSD it's basically like an allergy, right? It's an abnormal response to trauma.
Yeah.
Some people can go through trauma and be totally fine. They're like, yeah, it happened. I can get over it. I can let it go and I can move forward, and they don't have triggers. All PTSD is that abnormal reaction to trauma. So it doesn't matter what that trauma is. And trauma is usually when you are feeling unsafe. So you had an abnormal reaction, whether it was childhood, military, sexual, doesn't matter what it is. If you had that abnormal reaction where something else triggers you back into that, that's the PTSD. So it can be something really simple. My friend, a friend of mine that I met a while back, her PTSD stemmed from when she was a child. Her mom said she would be home at a certain time, and she was a few hours late. But for some reason, her brain could not get over, my mom's not here, I'm not safe. My mom's not here, I'm not safe. And that was where hers triggered from, hers stemmed from. So yeah, PTSD, it's not a shameful thing. And like what Willis was saying, I think it would be awesome if they had like a specialty disability plate that said, PTSD or TBI or MST something, or like some sort of something that people would realize, like, hey, we might not need the handicap space, but we need you to leave us alone. We need the shortest distance between the store and here so that we can get in and get out as fast as possible. I think that would be something worth getting or creating at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I was leaning into with the not visible trauma, right? And the not visible disabilities, and really, it's cliche to say, but unless you served in no matter what branch of the military, you really don't understand that shift in your mental that the military gives you. No matter where you join, and everybody says, the Marine Corps, it's the most strenuous mentally. And I mean, I've never served in any other branch besides the Marine Corps, so I wouldn't really be able to tell you. But from what I experienced was a huge like I came out a completely different person. And to be completely honest with you, I can't even remember the type of person and the type of thought process that I had prior to boot camp. So, that just goes to show you the new, like, the way that your brain works and the way you process your thoughts and your emotions, all that is changed and manipulated. And when you get out of the military, they don't give you an off switch to just be like, okay, go back to the way you used to be, right? So that's where a lot of veterans, I feel, have trouble transitioning more so, because they don't have the ability to turn that off. And yeah, like you said, Christopher, veterans hesitate to seek treatment because they think I'm not missing a limb, so I'm fine. It happens all the time, but like Marie said, how disabled do I have to be considered a disabled veteran? Do I have to,
Right.
am I a disabled veteran if I have, both my legs gone? Like, or, what makes a difference between that? Or, I still have my left arm intact and it's attached to my body, but I go through a constant state of pain 90% of my day with that injury. And that was sustained during active duty status. And so does that consider me a disabled veteran?
Right.
It's
Well,
just,
so there's a comment here on TikTok from Miss Lacey James. She says, at the same time, a lot of folks suffering invisible wounds. The last thing they want is more attention, or differentiation from other disabilities, as they already feel cut off from even other veterans. And I get that. If you got a Purple Heart veteran or a veteran that has lost limbs or eyesight or something of that nature, you don't want to be categorized as being different. I do get that. So I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily have a license plate that has the handicap thing on it for myself. Maybe something to hang in the window or something, or around the mirror or something like that. Especially if it's a like I would only use it in like Sam's or somewhere that's super uber busy, and I get frustrated really easily. My wife will tell you that I love road rage, because I get friggin' really frustrated a lot. So that I think that would be somewhere that I would use it at. But other than that, I probably wouldn't use it, because if I can park away from everybody, like at the very back 40 of a parking lot, and then mosey my way in, I'm okay with that. One, because I don't want nobody to hit my truck, but two, it just gives me that situational awareness of my surroundings. So I don't know.
So I'll tell you, I have been on both sides of that. So when I first got out, I got medically discharged because my hips gave out while I was in Iraq. And I didn't have the handicap parking, I kind of like pushed through, but I was also actively drinking regularly and hard and other extracurricular, forms of alcohol, and when I got sober, I started not being okay, right? Because I was actually like, hey, my body is not okay. And it got to a point where I told my doctor, and I was like, hey, on my really bad days, I need a handicap placard. And he's looking at me, he's like, no, you don't. And I'm like, no, I really do. I've got really bad days. And he's like, whatever, and go ahead. But usually it's only good for people who are crawling. It's the only time I want to see people doing it. So he went ahead and put me in for an MRI, and he called me the day I got my MRI. Normally you wait 2 weeks for results. He called me the day I got my MRI, and he's like, I am so sorry. You need hip replacements. I don't know how you're walking the way that you're doing. So I ended up getting my hip replacements, and after my hip replacements, they found other issues going on. And so now I wear braces on my knees on a regular basis. I got diagnosed with a genetic condition that the military made worse called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And now I have to wear braces on my knees on a regular. And it's so different the way that people perceive me, because before it was like my disability didn't matter. I would use the handicap placard, and I got a handicap plate, and it's mostly for other vets to know that I'm there. But I have the placard is for me, but the disabled veteran um, license plate, that's for like other vets to know, that I'm there. But when I was using the placard without my braces, everyone looked at me like I was a piece of crap. They looked at me like I was faking it. They looked at me like I didn't need it. And then when I got the braces, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? What can I do for you? Let me hold the door for you." And everyone treats me, with like kid gloves sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it's so interesting that being a disabled, someone with disability, right? There's such a stigma if it's not seen. And so it's been interesting to be on both sides.
Even when it is seen, like I had an issue when I was still active duty, and I went home on convalescent leave because I had a month of convalescent leave after my shoulder surgery. And I decided I had to stay in Jacksonville for a week after surgery because I had to do a follow-up with the surgeon, make sure I was healing all right, get my staples out of my shoulder, all that stuff. And then I got to go home. I took 20 days of leave to go fly back to Chicago and spend some time with my family. And I was at the airport, and my shoulder was in a sling, like my arm was in a sling. And I was waiting for my sea bag after I landed in the O'Hare airport, and I shit you not, some random guy came up to me and said, number one, he called me a baby killer. Never even met me before. And I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. I don't know, like, what are you even talking about, dude? And then he said, you don't deserve anything he said, you deserve everything that you've got right now. You don't need any help. That sling is for pity or something along those. I can't remember exactly what the guy said, but he was just rambling off. And I'm not gonna like fight this guy because I don't want to also get called back to my command. When I'm trying to stay home on leave and enjoy time with my family. I don't need my CO calling me and being like, "So we heard you had an incident. You need to come back to base right now, and you're probably going to get NJP'd." So I was like, I'm just going to ignore this guy. And somebody actually had come from behind where we were at and was like, "Hey man, back up." And he backed the guy up. This guy wasn't a veteran either. And he's like, "Here, man, I don't know what happened to you. For all he knew, I could have been blown up, or I could have just randomly had a shoulder surgery for whatever.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter, right?" But he's like, "Let me carry your bag for you." And he like carried it all the way back to where I got picked up by my car, by my aunt. And he sat there and waited for me or waited with me because he wanted to make sure that nobody else was messing with me. And he was just a really nice guy. But like, you'll have those people who even when they can see that you have something visibly wrong with you, you have those, unfortunately, those human beings who are not human beings, and they have no heart, and they just want to be an asshole just to be an asshole.
Well, the thing that I've learned about that, and this is one of the things that we talk about on my podcast, right, is we focus a lot on the healing aspect. And the reality is these people who lash out, they are suffering from their own struggles and their own traumas, and someone made them feel that way. And they are reacting towards us because they look at a mirror. The way people treat us has nothing to do with us. It has to do with their own insecurities and their own fears, their own doubts, something that has triggered them. And so when that happens to me, I just, hey, I'm here if you want to talk. But if you don't want to talk, back off, do your own thing. But I'm here when you are ready to talk.
Yeah, for sure. Travis, what are you working on up there?
Well, just a ton of stuff going on, and thinking about this and looking up, why reservists are treated differently than active duty. And it seems like a black and white issue, but it's not, unfortunately. And I think it really starts with what I'm looking at. It starts in the recruiting office. Like, your recruiter, doesn't tell you what's going to happen if you are a reservist. Like, and case in point is I had a couple hawkers who were out of California. They were reservists. Well, when their time in service ended, they didn't get a DD 214 when their service ended, and that's by law. That reservists don't get a DD 214, and because they didn't serve 180 days deployed or in service, if you will, they did not get the same kind of treatment as somebody who was acting like we were.
Right.
And that was hard for me to wrap my head around, because I'm kind of like you all, like, if you get hurt on drill weekend, what exactly happens? And it's not cut and dried, because a lot of times, and here's the thing that he told me: if you get hurt on drill weekend and happen to go to your civilian doctor first and didn't go through like the medical, so out there would have been through the Balboa system because of Navy Marine Corps, you could forfeit, any kind of VA determination because you got civilian care first. So it seems like there's a lot of more information needs to be shared, and it starts in the recruiting office, because to your point, you think you're going to get treated the same way as your active duty brethren, and you don't at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And some ways I get it. If you're one of those, and there's plenty of MOSs that are like this, right? They do the reserve time, then they never see activity, and they just did their weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. And I told someone, like, it's a whole different ball game doing this 24/7 than doing this once a month. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I do get this: if you get hurt doing your job on a drill weekend, you should have a do not pass go. You go right to Boardwalk and get your $200.
Yeah.
And there's where I'm trying to understand why it's so different. And it seems like a lot of this is by federal law. So I don't know how to explain it, but and maybe that's something that we can work on to understand better, because if you're some 18, 19-year-old kid who doesn't want to, and I get it, you're trying to go through school, you're trying to take care of your family, you're trying to just, see if you like it. Reserves is a pretty good option. It really is.
Yeah.
But no one's telling you what the real deal actually is. I think some people get surprised when they need help. What happens when you can't get help? And that's unfortunate. Really, really feel for you.
So Lacey, who was solely Army National Guard, she's commenting here. Let me pull it back up here. She goes, in my case, I was denied the first time because they could not decipher if I was on the correct code. And that, whether it was a federal code, state code, whatnot, is what I'm assuming she means, because you can be activated on state level and you're coded a certain way.
The
and then you
correct
could be
order.
Or was she
order.
National Guard?
Correct
Yeah, she was
orders.
National Guard. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge. A lot of things change if it's how that's done.
And then she said, not because the Raiders could not grasp if I was Army National Guard and my unit leadership and state failed me. And then she said this was told to me repeatedly, that if I had been on active duty when I was hurt, this would not have happened. So basically, because she was on Air National Guard or Army National Guard, Army National Guard, that because she got hurt while she was in it, so I just, man, I don't know, it blows my mind. It really does blow my mind.
Yeah.
So one last thing I want to talk about, and this is for us Marines, and this probably goes on in all MOSs, but primarily this story is about Marines. In one of the Marines' most iconic jobs, a stunning pattern of suicide. What's one of the most iconic Marine Corps job out there? And it's a B
Probably
billet.
I don't know what that means. So
It's a
probably
B-billet, huh?
recruiter.
It's a B billet, yeah. So a B billet would be like your secondary, your
So you're
second.
talking
So
Marine,
Yeah,
so
like
B-billet
recruiting.
is Marine Security Guard, Marine Security Forces, the drill field, or the silent drill team.
I would
My
say
husband,
I would
my
say
husband was a, my husband was a metal worker, and he saw a suicide, and his doc killed himself while he was in training.
so this
I
right
would say
here,
I would say drill instructor.
and you would be correct.
Yeah.
All right, it says Marine Corps drill instructors are a national symbol of discipline, but for some, their imposing persona belies a dark reality. And it says here, Beaufort, South. This was posted February 11th, 2025 at 6 a.m. Written by Kelsey Baker and Drew Lawrence of military.com. Tatiana Sewell held her youngest child as she stood amid the rows of white headstones and stately mossy oaks. Her late husband, Logan, was buried in the National Cemetery nearly 4 years ago after taking his life and ending what his widow described as a uh, RUINOUS ruinous
Ruinous.
tenure. Yeah, yeah. In one of the U.S. military's most iconic jobs, Marine drill instructor. He was 33 years old. Nearby, her other children spotted a coin, regarded within the armed forces as a symbol of respect, resting atop his grave. Perhaps she thought it was left there by someone who worked with him, molding new Marines at Paris Island, just south of there. So let me get to the heat of the. An independent investigation conducted by the Inspector General of the Marine Corps supports that assessment concluded in November 2023. The inquiry found a climate that fosters surviving vices thriving, and a perception among staff that drill instructors' welfare is of low priority to leadership. Investigators reported hearing from several people involved with recruit training who observed personnel walking on eggshells or on pins and needles and generally afraid for their careers. One former drill instructor said that the experience left him and his family shattered, adding, "I experienced a really, really dark side of myself." This account of mental health crisis afflicting Marine Corps drill instructors is based on more than 30 interviews with service members, their families, and their superiors. So basically, what it's saying is that being a Marine Corps drill instructor, I'm trying to see if there's any numbers, what kind of numbers they're saying, but they're saying that they're seeing a pattern in suicide within the Marine Corps drill instructor field, more so than uh, any other active duty uh, job job out there.
I can see that because so funny, not funny, but weirdly enough, um, when I was in boot camp, I was in boot camp from November to February of 2010 going into 2011. And the platoon 2 cycles before mine, I believe, 1 or 2 cycles, I think it was 2 cycles before mine, had a drill instructor commit suicide in front of his recruits during swim qual. Had a, how when we're doing swim qual, we have our rubber rifles and we're doing, you're in boots and utes and, full gear and all that and doing your swim qual. And I guess he had grabbed one of the recruits' rifles and some ammo and went up on the high dive and but he had grabbed one of his recruits' rifles and went up on the high dive and called for all his recruits, ears open, sir, eyeballs, click, sir, and then put the barrel in his mouth and popped himself right through his mouth and fell into the pool. They had to get all the recruits out of the pool. And this happened like months just before I had gotten there. And when you said that drill instructors have like a very you know, I guess high rate of suicide, that makes sense, because not only, you know, are you expected to, you know, maintain, you know, top tier standards, and you're the face of the Marine Corps, and you're
Yeah.
solely responsible for training and molding these, you know, civilian kids who come into the Marines that you need them to be. And but you're away from your family for a really long time. And I wouldn't be surprised if a drill instructor, Bill, it was also a high rate of like divorce, and you know,
So
issues with families.
theory, you're absolutely right. In a 2019 internal Marine Corps study found that Marines who served as drill instructors died by suicide at twice the rate of those who had never held the job. The study also found higher rates of addiction and divorce among this group.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, like, you know, these guys are not only, you know, and I know it's like a character that you kind of play when you're a drill instructor, and you know, you embody this really mean, hard-headed, like fucking, you know, screamy kind of, you know, in your face sort of person, and you have to embody that persona to give the recruits the stress to be able to work under pressure, and be able to make life or death decisions under that kind of pressure. And that's the whole point of why they are the way that they are. But you don't get very many opportunities while you're a drill instructor, and you're in the middle of a cycle. You don't get a lot of opportunities to go see your family. You spend 95% of your time with these recruits training them, and you might do two or three cycles, you know.
90-hour work weeks. 90-hour
Yeah.
work week.
Yeah,
Severe
it's
sleep
crazy.
deprivation,
Yeah.
constant intense pressure, and an always on culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't get to go see your family. So, you know, I'm sure that a lot of infidelity happens with drill instructors, which causes divorce, and that can cause, you know, depression and suicidal ideations, and sometimes suicidal actions and attempts.
If I
So
remember correctly, though, if they're married, um, the spouse and family can come and live there. If I remember correctly,
on base.
Yep. That's for real.
Yeah, because I know
They-
one of my either my senior drill instructor or my heavy was married, and they got whether they lived on base or off base. But yeah, so they can come there. But if you're a single Marine, or you know you're engaged and not married yet, and you're away, you know your wife is back at Lejeune and you're down at Paris Island, then yeah, it might be. But still, I mean, even with the 90-hour work weeks, and you know as well as I know, our drill instructors were always there, and except for maybe nighttime. But hell, they were even, they're there at 0:30 in the morning, friggin' with us. So
yeah, I mean, I know that when I was in boot camp, we would have, like, you know, two of the drill instructors would stay on duty, right, for that night. And yeah, I think it was after a certain point, like up to a certain point, all four of them had to be present.
Were you Hollywood there, Theory?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever we went to Camp Pendleton, they were pretty well all there all the time.
Yeah. But I know once they hit a certain point, you know, you would only have one or two of the drill instructors that would stay with the recruits on duty for that night.
Yeah, for the night, yeah.
More than likely, the rest of the drill instructors got to go to their families or go have, you know, liberty time or whatever the case may be, time to decompress.
Yeah, but we all know that even the decompression time really wasn't decompression time.
No, it's not enough. You know, when you're training recruits for 90 days, you know,
back to
having
back to back.
you know, one night a week where you get to, you know, go let off some steam for, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours. It's not enough time.
All right,
for
Travis,
you.
happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Travis, happy Thanksgiving.
Have a good
one. Super Five, guys.
So here's a recent news reports based on military casualty reports obtained through public records requests have identified at least 7 suicides among USMC drill instructors in the 5 years leading up to early 2025, with 3 occurring at MCRD Paris Island within a 3-month period in 2023.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but you know, it makes sense to
Yeah.
me, you know, that would, because it's a very demanding job, very demanding, and you know, you got a lot of weight on your shoulders too. You know, you're, like I said, you're responsible for training the next generation of Marines to embody what you're supposed to uphold for those standards, and
Yeah.
you know, so you have a lot riding on your shoulders during that transition from civilian to Marine, and you know, not everybody can hack that kind of pressure either. So, you know, you might, you know, pass DI school and then you get your first cycle and you're just like, holy fuck, it's totally different than what I thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, it might mess with you mentally. It might mess with you emotionally. You know,
So
it's
we actually covered this topic on my podcast, and we brought in, I believe it was Sam Bassett on this one, or maybe it was Sergeant Major Schickel. Um, our combat veterans becoming the enemies that they fought, and this was something that we kind of brought in, and the pressures and all that just from being in the military in general, and then whenever you deploy, right? And imagine a drill instructor that then got out, that changed their PCS and went into a combat role, and then they deployed, right? Like,
that's
this is
wild.
it's all kinds of things that we've covered these topics, and
Yeah.
I intentionally remained quiet during that whole conversation, because I have a completely differing view on everything that was said, with the exception of like the reservist, right? Like, I get why, because of the laws, but I also agree that there should be something that can be done if they're injured in drill, then that should be taken care of. But so I'm in a place. I'm a two-time Iraq War veteran, active duty, that got an OTH from the Marine Corps. And I was in a really, really bad place, called the VA and told them I had an OTH. They said, "You're not a veteran," and hung up on me.
Oh, hell no.
So I have battled and struggled and worked through some really, really fucking hard shit. Sorry, I'm trying
Go
not
for
to
it.
cuss.
You're good. Step of
And
spirit, bro.
and I understand the I served, I earned, I deserve, I rate. As somebody that has fought through it on their own, without the VA, without the military, anybody can do it. I feel like we have created, by bringing all of this stuff available, we've created a bunch of pussy citizens that, and we continuously say, "Oh, I deserve this, I deserve that," and we don't deserve fuck all. We joined the military, put our name on the line for up unto our life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything in between there wasn't above and beyond.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything. We absolutely signed a blank check.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to lose. A lot of people are going to hate me for this statement, but I don't really care. They don't owe us shit.
No, they don't.
They don't owe us a fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to stop saying, "What can America give to me?" and start saying, "What can we give to America?" That is what is the problem with our country. We continuously ask, "What can our government give to us?" Not, "What can we give to our government?" And the stance that we're standing on is, they owe me this, they should take care of me. They don't need to do shit. We need to move back into society. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it fucking sucks. We have created a pussy citizenship that, yeah, we have numbers, but somebody that wants to cut their dick off and paints their fucking hair blue and all this other shit if somebody was to fucking attack us, we would be absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
We need, it's so cliche to say what I'm about to say. We need to pull ourselves up by our fucking bootstraps and move on. Move forward. We were taught to adapt and overcome, and we're not adapting and overcoming. We're staying right where we're at, and we're wanting somebody else to fix our problems.
I can't say that everybody is.
I'm saying that as a whole, not in individual people.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, but I think there's a lot of people out there with a very similar mindset as to you with that. Like I didn't go to the VA for almost 20 plus years. And the reason I utilize the VA now is to help me with my PTSD, my moral injury, and also health related stuff. But now I'm not saying that that like I rate it. Yes, I rate it because I served my country, right? The reason I have bad knees, bad ankles, bad back is because of what I did in the service. And
I don't disagree with that, by the way.
Right.
It's the mindset that has been created that it's constantly, look, you said earlier, you said you're 60%.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are like, okay, I'm 60%. What do I need to do to get to 100? Oh, tell them that you have ED.
I was just going to say
this.
that.
Yeah.
You have that. You have this. And it's all these things that cannot be proven.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're just trying to tick it up so then you can get that PNT.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I know a lot of
ahead,
veterans who did that too, because, you know, I lived with a guy after I had gotten out of the Marines. I had lived with somebody. Obviously I'm not going to air out his dirty laundry nor his name, but you know, he was completely fine.
I'm sorry I got amped up.
No, you're good. You're good.
Your wife is commenting, by the way.
I know she is. She has been.
So I was I was thinking about this while a couple different times while we were having this discussion about the disability stuff. Like, you know, this guy didn't have a thing wrong with him. He didn't have any kind of, you know, he always told everybody, I don't have PTSD. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have ED, but I claimed it on my VA disability, and he got to 100% right off the bat when he got out. And I was just like, at that point, I hadn't even gone to the VA. I got out in 2015. I didn't go to the VA until a year and a half later, and didn't get my first disability check until March of 2017. And so for that entire time, this dude's making, at the time, I think it was like $3,300 a month or something like that. And living in Jacksonville, North Carolina, you can live like a king on $3,300 a month. And, you know, when your rent's $500 and, you know, all that, you know, cheap shit, you know, living down there, you know, around the Jacksonville area, it's just not as expensive. So it's like, he was buying a new truck, and he was getting this and he was getting that. And I was looking at him and I'm just like, I haven't even gone to the VA to do my disability yet. And it was because of that reason. You know, I felt like I was okay. Like, granted, yes, I had my shoulder, you know, I had surgery and I was having problems with it. I've had problems with this shoulder since immediately after my surgery. So whoever did my surgery at the VA clearly didn't do a very good job.
Was it a labrum tear? Is that what it is?
So it was a condition called Bankart lesion.
Okay.
So I had tore my rotator cuff. I also had disconnected and torn tendons and ligaments from the bone. I fractured the socket bone, and there are, as of right now, even still, there are stress fractures all around that area, and like bruised the bone, and like it was just all sorts of jacked up. And so they had to go in, what is it, orthoscopically with a little robot arm thing, and they like cut me open on like 4 different areas on my shoulder. And
have you ever seen the surgery? I watched a video on it. I watched a video on it because I had 3 anchors put in my shoulder, had a labrum tear, AC separation.
Ooh.
And they what they do is they cut these holes, and then they take a rod that flares out, shove it into the joint, hit it with a hammer, separate the ball from the socket, fill it with water, and then they pull that rod out, and then they shove these cameras in, and it's the 3 holes. I have one here, and one in the back.
Yeah.
And then they put the camera in, and then they work from either side.
Yeah.
And whenever you watch it, like I watched it before I went in, I went, oh,
yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds terrifying. I
What do you
never
think?
saw what it looked like, but I'm sitting here thinking like that's probably what the fuck they did to me. Like, you know,
it is.
it was
is.
it was gross. Like I have, you know, you can see the scars and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, it was really weird. You know, but I hadn't gone to the VA for my disability for, like I said, like a year and a half until I got out. And it was for that reason. Like I didn't feel like even though I had my shoulder injury, even though I have, you know, shin splints and I have stress fractures in my knee, and my right knee will swell up because I have stress fractures in it. So it swells up with water. Like I've had to get my knee drained before, and that shit sucks. And you know, all these things that I got when I was in the service, and it's like, okay, I have these injuries, but I still feel I was 26 when I got out, 25 when I got out. No, I was 26 when I got out. So at 26 years old, I was still young enough, and I was like, I'm okay. Like I don't need to do anything. And I was like, dude, this guy's completely fine. Like he's full of shit. And so you do have those veterans who are like, you know, and it's sad, but like milking the system, right? Like, you know, you don't necessarily need it, but, you know, then on the other hand, you see, you know, these people who advocate for veterans, they might not even be veterans, but they advocate for veterans. And they're like, you signed your name on the dotted line, and
you deserve anything and everything.
Yeah, you should get, you know, 100% no matter what. That's what all veterans deserve. And it's just like, I don't agree with that statement. I think that like Willis says, you know, based on the severity of your injuries, you know, you should be rated accordingly, because it's more than just getting a compensation payment. It's also making sure that those injuries can be taken care of medically as you get older. If those end up getting worse, you can get that taken care of at no cost at a VA hospital.
What's up, Al Hero? Yeah, I'm like you. All right, so I've been told by many different people. So I've been going through this process since 2022. And they're like, oh, you should tell them that you get up and you go pee 6 times a night because you'll get urinary incontinence.
Incontinence.
Yeah. And then you need to tell them this. And I'm like, I'm not going to lie to the government and say that I need this or that. You know, if right now I'm working on my knees, my ankle, my back. I got to go back for hearing loss. Because I do have hearing loss from firing all the weapons that we fired while we were.
What was that? What was that, Willis?
Right. Yeah. What was that? So I'm only going to fight for the things that are wrong with me. If that gets me,
what are the 3 things that the Marine Corps teach you? It's in their fucking motto: honor, courage, and commitment. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're gonna lie, then you are not a fucking Marine.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
You know, and if you got people out there, Lacey said it here on TikTok. The VA treats us all like we're scammers because there's too many veterans out there lying and cheating on the system to get to that 100%. Yeah, and like I tell my wife, if I get to 100, I'm happy because I'm going to make sure I do it the right way. And you know, I got PTSD. I'm 50%. Could I go up to 70%? Maybe. But guess what? 50% is fine with me. I got 10% for tetanitis. That's where my 60% comes right there. I'm 60 because of those 2 right now. And now I'm going to go, like I said, my knees, my ankle, my back, my hearing loss, my sinusitis, rhinitis, they gave me a 0% rating on. So it's rated, but it's 0%.
Yeah.
So I'm going to,
but that's still better than not being rated at all.
Right. So I'm definitely going to, push.
Your service connected with 0 rating.
Right. So I'm going to push all of that. And if that gets me to 100%, that gets me 100%. But if it gets me to 90%, okay, I'm done. You know, that's where I'm going to be at for the rest of my life. But
that can
I'm not
actually
gonna,
be taken away. So
yeah,
that's the fight for people trying to get to PNT,
Yeah.
so that they don't lose it.
Yeah, because a lot
so
of people have gone in with when they're like 70 or 80%, they'll go in to fight for that extra 20%, and then
And
they
lose
come
it.
back and they go down to 60 or 50.
And there's people that get rated for their knee, and then they get a knee replacement, and then they lose the rating because their knee
well,
isn't
see,
fucked
I've
up
had a
anymore.
total knee replacement.
Yeah.
And it's still not. So I was at 120 degrees bend when I went in, before I went in to have the knee replaced. Right now I'm thinking I'm at 90, or I'm right at 100. So it's not back to 120 where it was. So I thought about that too. I was like, well, hell, if I go in and have knee replacements and I'm trying to get, my knees, then I'm gonna, wind up losing that. And if as long as they get fixed, I'm happy. I don't care if I get rated for it or not. As long as they get fixed, and I'm kind of somewhat normal. But
So Willis, my wife commented on TikTok. I've got it up too, and I've been watching it over here. My wife says, I agree, but how do we rate and treat PTSD? How do we know they for sure have PTSD? Now, she asked that question knowing, right? She's in her master's program in psychology, going for her doctorate. She knows the answer. But she went with me to my service connection. I have an OTH, so I have to go and just get service connected. Everything's a 0 rating, but I'm service connected on certain things. So I can get treatment for it, but no compensation. But I went to a freaking what was it? A forensic psychologist. And this dude had been in the field like 785 years. And he was like, I retire next year or next month or some shit. And I was like, cool. How long you been doing? He goes, 82 years. Shit, man. And he had all of these freaking schools, the diplomas on the wall. And he's like, yeah, I've been here. I've been there. And I was so scared, so nervous that I was going to do something wrong, that I was going to say something wrong.
Yeah.
That like we've created an atmosphere to where you can't just go in and be honest and be like, listen, man, this is what's going on. And they'd be like, oh, I get it. Now it's like we're in an interrogation.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm kind of going away from what my initial statement was, that we're creating a bunch of pussies. But there is a place where there is a place where it's like, hey, we need to take care of these guys. I agree. But at the same time, it's like, whatever. If I don't ever get rating, if I don't ever get my OTH upgraded, I don't ever do any of that, then I'm okay. I'll do what I've been doing the whole time and just claw and fight and not one time whine about it.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one thing, is we are creating a society of fucking whiners.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it's 9 o'clock. My wife just texted. I gotta go have a conversation.
Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, Kevin just got back. But my daughter's on her way home from work, and we have to have a conversation. So I gotta go up there and have a conversation with the daughter about money, because she was supposed to be saving money and she ain't really saved money. So now we got to go have a conversation with her. So
gotta put on your dad hat.
You got to put on the dad hat. Yeah. So guys, Kevin, we're gonna have to get together and talk soon. I need to have you on HomeFront Sitrep and discuss what you do and stuff like that. So I will get your phone number or email from Marie, and we'll make that happen.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed this I know I had to leave, and I told Miss Marie I would come back as soon as my other meeting was over with.
No worries. We'll definitely we'll work that out. We will definitely work that out.
Absolutely,
Hi,
sir.
Miss Sadie.
Did she give you a stink eye?
I know she did. Why did she give me the stink eye, bro?
Don't be mean. He was saying hello. Now I'm
Listen,
getting a stink eye.
I know you're getting a side eye. Listen here, young Marine. I know where you live.
No, I never even asked. I never asked.
Girl, get out of my camera.
What?
All right, Josh, call me this week. All right, guys, thank you again for coming on and hanging out with us for this 2 hours. I got to get upstairs because the daughter just pulled in the driveway. You guys have a great night. I'm going to end the show real quick.
You
Love
as
you,
well.
bye.
Peace out, y'all. Have a
See
good
y'all.
holiday.
All right, guys, great show. I want to thank everybody who participated in chat, whether TikTok, whether here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you were watching from. Thank you guys very much. I can't wait for next Tip of the Spear, which will be in December. That will be, let's see, December the 17th because of the holiday. Actually, you know what? Yep. There's 2 holidays there, the 24th and 31st, both holidays. So you guys have a great night, and we will see you guys soon. But like we always say, stay safe out there. We got your 6.